As a lawyer, I see two threats: a federal government spitting on the Constitution, and a city that's becoming unlivable for anyone making under six figures. The media wants to make the New York City mayor's race a national proxy war over socialism.
The rise of a Midwest Mamdani.
Fox News has mentioned Mamdani.
Hello, John. Well, the Stop Zohran Mamdani movement got a big boost today.
Countless times since the primary.
Here's my personal favorite. He wants to have behavioral crisis response teams instead of armed law enforcement response.
You know what they haven't mentioned? That New York City has the legal authority to ignore most of what Trump wants to do here. We're going to talk about the one thing that actually matters. The one tool designed to fix a broken city and a broken country. Federalism. As the city crumbles under a political establishment and big money apparatus that has woven its way into local politics like the brainworm that has penetrated Bobby Kennedy's cerebrum.
That's called a bird grasshopper. Here he is.
The situation on the ground is getting dire. Literacy rates among children are an absolute disgrace. People making less than six figures are being relegated to shoebox apartments, being domineered by predatory landlords. People who have lived their entire lives in this city are being pushed out, and the city's cultural soul is being eroded and commodified. Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee, calls himself a socialist, and people have been losing their collective minds. Congresspeople are calling for his deportation. Pundits are somehow claiming his victory is a disgrace to 9/11. Members of his own party are screaming that he's just too radical. But here's what they're not discussing: his actual policies. This misses the entire point of our constitutional system. The founders designed federalism to empower states, and through them cities, to experiment with bold solutions to local problems without needing DC's permission. The federal government clearly won't solve these problems. They have no desire. At this point, Trump is focused on mass deportations. Congressional Democrats are worried about renaming bills to spite Trump. Meanwhile, your kid can't read, your rent just went up another $500, and the laundromat downstairs just closed. If Washington won't fix this, who will? The answer has been baked into our constitutional DNA from the very beginning. The answer is called federalism. The Constitution's 10th Amendment is clear. Any power we didn't explicitly give to the federal government is the responsibility of the state. James Madison in Federalist 45 put it even more bluntly. Federal powers are few and defined. State powers are numerous and indefinite. Here's what that looks like in practice. Cities make transit more accessible. It has a real impact. San Francisco, for example, has a long-standing program provisioning free and discounted transit to the elderly and people with disabilities, recognizing that mobility is essential for independence, community connection, and access to healthcare. When Minneapolis eliminated single-family zoning as part of its 2040 plan, it spurred a wave of a new development. From 2017 to 2022, the city's housing stock grew by 12%, 3 times faster than the rest of Minnesota. New York's own constitution takes it a step further. Under something called home rule, the state gives the city a massive amount of power to enact its own local laws to deal with its own local problems. And the legal principle called anti-commandeering builds a wall around all of that power. It means Washington can't force New York to carry out federal programs. It means they can't commandeer our state to do their dirty work. Here's what this means in practice. When Trump sends ICE to raid a workplace in Queens, the New York City Police Department doesn't have to help. When he threatens to withhold federal funding from sanctuary cities, New York can sue and win. We know because we've done this before. New York has a long history of being a flashpoint to federal power, from Civil War riots in 1863 to becoming a sanctuary city in 1989. But what about the ultimate federal weapon? The power of the purse. Can't Washington just starve the city into compliance? And it seems that this is Trump's main weapon right now. The answer is no. During Trump 1.0, the administration threatened to withhold federal funding from sanctuary cities that limited cooperation with ICE. Cities like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, they sued and won. Federal courts repeatedly blocked the administration, ruling that threatening to cut off critical funds related to healthcare or public safety to enforce an unrelated federal policy is unconstitutional coercion. The Supreme Court has affirmed this principle, ruling that the federal government can incentivize, but it can't put a gun to the city's head, which is something that Trump is doing quite literally right now. The whole system was designed with distance on purpose. New York City has consistently been on the forefront of policy innovation in the United States. It's the epicenter of the country for a reason. It's often setting precedents that have shaped national trends, dating back to public housing and urban infrastructure, or to this day with policies like car-free streets. The vision was famously captured by Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, who in 1932 called states laboratories of democracy, places where social and economic experiments could be tried without risk to the rest of the country. While Brandeis was writing more than a century after the country's founding, his idea perfectly captured the spirit of the system that the founders designed. A system where power was decentralized, allowing local governments to act ambitiously to solve their own problems. Mamdani's primary campaign largely won because it was laser-focused on solving New York City's affordability crisis. It's literally on the front page of his website. He has proposed ending parking minimums to lower new housing costs and to speed development on 200,000 new homes. According to research from UCLA, a single underground parking space can cost $34,000 to build. Because cities often require developers to build 1 or 2 spaces per apartment, costs upwards of $70,000, that gets baked directly into your rent, whether you have a car or not. When cities like Buffalo, New York, and Austin, Texas eliminated these mandates, they removed a massive barrier to building more affordable homes. He advocates for using city-owned land for nonprofit and social housing to drive down rent prices. He advocates for rent freezes on any rent-stabilized apartments, making buses in the city fare-free, which would in turn speed them up as well. This message spoke to people, and while speeding up building permits and restructuring city zoning don't make enticing taglines, his primary message being, I hear that you can't afford to live here anymore. Let's use the tools at our disposal to try and help keep you here.
New York, will you accept this rose?
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
200,000 new homes means your cousin that moved to Jersey City because she couldn't afford Brooklyn might be able to move back. It means your kid's teacher won't have a 2-hour commute getting to work from the suburbs.
The next station is Ronkonkoma.
This conversation shouldn't be about socialism or conservatism. It really should just be focused on how do we solve the problems that are plaguing our city. And that seems to be exactly what Mamdani is asking. Mamdani has skirted most of online leftism and has taken the Bernie Sanders approach to creating a big tent coalition.
There are people for whom their number one issue is groceries, the cost of groceries, and they vote alongside that. And they kept hearing about it from Trump, and they heard about it from us. And I think part of our posture has been, we welcome anyone to join this movement. We don't ask them where they've been or why they haven't joined yet. We welcome them because I think too often we've practiced a politics of purity where we ask you, we badger you, we lecture you, we hector you. There's the level of condescension about those who don't already agree with us. That is not how you welcome people in.
One of his first viral videos was shot right after the election, talking to disaffected Trump voters in the Bronx, feeling like the status quo and rising inflation were big problems, the cost of living untenable, and how could they bring themselves to vote for something that would have seemed to keep things largely the same.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
And why did you not vote?
Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
In numerous TV interviews, Mamdani could be seen quoting former Mayor Ed Koch, a centrist Democrat.
Mayor Koch said this, that if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. 12 out of 12, see a psychiatrist. And I found that in New Yorkers, an ability to say, look, maybe I wouldn't call myself the same word, but I want the same things. And ultimately, you have to have a coalition that asks people of just one thing. We need to make the city affordable. We can have disagreement, we can have tension, but we have to have agreement on that one thing so that we can build a coalition that looks like the city of New York.
If people would stop focusing on the labels, they would see that he's trying to build something bigger, turning out Democrats in the primary in record numbers. He is building a coalition to provide the leverage he needs to enact change in a city that's thirsty for it. Additionally, for all of the fear-mongering that every business will dip out of the city because their taxes might go up a teensy bit, which he couldn't even do anyway without the governor, he's actually proposing things that he can do on a local level that will promote small business growth. He proposes appointing a mom-and-pop czar whose only job will be to cut red tape. He pledges to cut administrative fees and fines by 50% and scrap any regulations that don't impact health, safety, or workers' rights. As he put it, you shouldn't have to fill out 24 forms and go through 7 agencies just to open a barbershop. His video about how halal should still be $7.
New York is suffering from a crisis, and it's called halalflation. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Rings true to a lot of people who love halal and, that don't like paying $15 for it. Small businesses are being bogged down with extreme barriers to entry, nonsensical hoops to jump through, and again, a rising cost of rent that would crush most anyone trying to start a business in this country. But these local laboratories are under threat, and here's what's coming for New York specifically. In June 2025, as I discussed in my summer train wreck video, Trump federalized 4,000 National Guard troops and added 700 Marines to LA, citing rebellion. In August 2025, Trump ordered federal seizure of DC's police department, deploying National Guard troops to patrol the streets and clean them up. Literally. Trump also pressured Texas Republicans for a mid-decade redistricting, approving a map that would add GOP congressional seats. This is a hardball political play done by both sides that the Supreme Court has unfortunately said is something that they could do. This is not to mention the countless manufactured emergencies that the Trump administration has used as a pretense to sign off on brazenly unconstitutional executive orders that expand federal power over immigration, funding, and, this is just all good, all kosher behavior from the people who the past 4 years under Biden and 8 years under Obama were whining and moaning about living under a king, saying that the government was taking their freedoms, championing states' rights. But here's the constitutional reality. New York doesn't have to comply with most of this. As we've established, the anti-commandeering doctrine means that the feds can't force state and city governments to carry out federal programs. When sanctuary cities refuse to detain immigrants for ICE, what they call lawlessness is an exercise in constitutional authority. The same authority that seemingly allows Texas to do whatever the hell it wants allows New York to protect its citizens from federal overreach. Zohran presents an incredible opportunity to show that an ideological smattering of different policies can be enacted on a large scale to provide relief to New Yorkers to deal directly with the problems that they are facing. But politics, unfortunately, is a two-way street. Of course, people care about how these policies impact their daily lives. But on the other side of the coin, an important part of winning an election is galvanizing your base. And recently, Democratic opposition to the Trump administration has been embarrassing. Emblematic of a geriatric and otherwise complacent Democratic Party that seems to have no messaging.
We will win! We will win! We will win! We won't rest! We won't rest!
Or strategy.
And it was the tightest, closest presidential election in the 21st century.
Or wherewithal to deal with the problems that the Trump administration's authoritarian regime are harboring right now, especially when a few months ago the Democrats were the ones who were telling us we had to fight hard as hell in order to prevent democracy from ending. Take the current contenders in the New York City mayoral race. Not only has it been reported that Andrew Cuomo has had a private phone conversation with Donald Trump, but Cuomo at a fundraiser in the Hamptons even told his wealthy donors he would be banking on Trump's support for a win. Trump himself even said after Cuomo lost the Democratic primary that he should stay in the race.
No, I think Andrew would have a good shot of winning. You know, he's running against the communists. I would think that he would have a good shot.
This is the guy that's going to protect New Yorkers from their streets being overrun by the military? Eric Adams is even worse somehow, given he seemingly got a precious gift from the Trump administration, dropping all federal corruption charges against him. During his time in office, Adams has been somewhat of a sock puppet for the Trump administration, even sitting next to border creep Tom Homan on Fox and Friends.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? So
compare this to how federalism actually worked during Trump's first term. California sued the administration over 120 times, and in the cases that were decided, the administration lost nearly 70% of the time. Wind this back on a national scale, and it's clear Democrats have no messaging or clear strategy to combat the Trump administration. Whether it's holding up these lame-ass signs during Trump's first State of the Union, all while censuring the guy who was yelling at Trump.
To the joint session. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Sending strongly worded letters to various members of the administration.
Yeah, I thought that was a strongly worded letter. He cited a lot of statutory provisions.
Changing the official name of the big, beautiful bill in an attempt to own Trump. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are the exact kind of milquetoast leaders that have allowed power to slip under the grips of an authoritarian like Trump in the first place. Jeffries, whose district is in New York City, still hasn't committed to endorsing Zohran Mamdani, who is the Democratic nominee. And while Jeffries can point out that Mamdani didn't endorse Harris in 2024, that blue no matter who hypocrisy is exactly the problem. Jeffries represents Brooklyn. His constituents are paying $3,200 median rent. His response? He's more worried about committee appointments in a Republican-controlled Congress than whether or not his constituents can actually afford to live in the city. Mamdani has been emblematic of a different style of approach to Trump's authoritarian politics, and we've seen glimpses of it here and there. Recently, Gavin Newsom has been in the headlines for fighting back against Texas's gerrymandering and employing Trump's rhetorical strategy on Twitter, even selling Trump-like merch to highlight the absurdity of it all, while also getting under many of the right's skin.
Gavin Newsom, meantime, posting this on X, Liz, using all capitals, of course, trying to mock Trump, use Trump style. Trump just fled the podium with Putin, no questions, nothing. Total low energy. The man looked like he'd just eaten 3 buckets of KFC with Vlad. Admit it, Donnie J, you're terrified because this was the worst week of your life because of me, Gavin C. Newsom. I think he's trying to be funny. I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And what are you, the governor of the biggest state in the union, what are you doing?
Honestly, I feel like he's trying so hard to be Trump, but he's coming off like Kanye West. He seems absolutely insane.
California's resistance is working. California just won another injunction against Trump's birthright citizenship order. This in-your-face strategy was also seen by Zohran Mamdani and Brad Lander, who cross-endorsed each other in the Democratic primary. Lander was arrested during the primary.
You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. I'm not obstructing, I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking that you for a judicial warrant, you don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant. Sir.
Brad and some other individuals link arms with this individual, and then we are swarmed by a number of agents.
Having demanded the DHS supply a warrant while detaining a man during an immigration court hearing. Mamdani himself has been vocal about immigration, going viral for screaming at Tom Homan earlier this year.
Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan? How
and has been vocal on the campaign about how the next mayor of New York has to be a foil against Trump to protect the citizens that live here. It's crucially important to note, however, that we can't forget about Zohran Mamdani's initial reach out to these disaffected Trump districts. He recognizes it's important to bring these people to his side, the ones that care about facts anyway, and focuses his opposition on those actually enacting harmful policies, like mass deportation. Compare this with Eric Adams, who thinks proper bipartisanship is sitting on the casting couch with the guy who's breaking apart thousands of families. This is why the Mamdani race matters beyond New York. If he wins and these policies work, if housing gets more affordable, if small businesses thrive, if the city becomes more livable, it creates a roadmap that other cities can follow. That's how federalism is supposed to work. Good ideas spread naturally because they work, not because Washington mandates them. And look, not every experiment works. Brandeis knew that. Some will fail. That's the point of a laboratory. He said states could try novel experiments without risk to the rest of the country. A bad policy in Albany doesn't tank the economy in Arizona. But a good one? A good one can provide a roadmap to the entire nation. Seattle watches and implements free transit. Chicago adopts the small business reforms. Philadelphia copies the housing strategy. This is how American progress has always worked. One city shows it's possible, and the others follow. Marriage equality started in Massachusetts. Legal started in Denver. The founders gave us federalism because they knew someday the federal government might fail us. That day has come. The question isn't whether you like Mamdani's politics. The question is whether you believe New York City, or your city, should have the right to solve its own problems. Because if we lose that right, we lose the last tool we have to fix this city. So here's what you do. If you're in New York, vote on Election Day. If you're not, start asking your local candidates questions. What can our city do that Washington won't? The laboratory is open. Time to start experimenting. If you like this video, I encourage you to check out my other videos, follow me on social media, which I'll put all around me right now, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching. I love you.